Day 5 of reading Crush. I am exactly 50% of the way done with the book, according to Kindle. So I'm filming part 1 review tomorrow, and nothing has happened. What's up, guys? It's V Renee. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. So sorry that I ghosted you for the entire month of November. I lost one of my jobs. My sister was in town. The election happened, and I just did not have the mental capacity to read a shitty book. However, I'm back with a vengeance. Way back in late September, the sequel to Crave by Tracy Wolff, which is the second book I ever reviewed in my I Read Blank So You Don't Have to series, the sequel came out, and I bought it with 15 of my doll hairs and gave Tracy Wolff money for this fucking book, and said I would review it, but it's 126 chapters, and I just did not have the time or desire to sit down and read this long-ass book. So I'm doing something I've never done, which is doing a 2-part review, because this book is so long. And this is part 1. Yeah, so let's talk about Crush, or as I like to call it, Buffy the Vampire Slayer and the Goblet of the Deathly Hallows. Because wow, is this book an amalgamation of all the things I loved as a teenager, but bad. I don't even have categories. I just need to go, because guess what? Nothing happens. Do you know what happens? Okay, so if you guys don't remember, at the end of Crave, Grace turned into a gargoyle, and okay, so the book opens with her walking through school and just being like, "Do-do-do-do-do," and everybody's staring at me, and it's so weird, I don't understand, and everybody's like, "Oh, she's back." She's like, "What do you mean I'm back?" And they're like, "You've been gone for 4 months." She's like, "I don't remember that." So we start with Amnesia, classic, love a second book Amnesia. This is me dragging myself because I have a sequel Amnesia situation in my books. So then they tell her, like, you were turned into a gargoyle. She's like, a gargoyle? Whatever. So she's like, I'm back and I was a gargoyle. Oh my god. Oh, and now I remember that I tried to stop Hudson from killing Jackson at the end of the book. Oh my god. Where's Hudson? They're like, we don't know. We think you brought him back with you, or we don't know where you put him. And we're like, okay, great. So then she starts waking up with like blood on her and like shit she doesn't remember, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh god, Hudson's inside of you. You're like possessed by Hudson and he's doing things while you're asleep. Because she keeps waking up places she doesn't know, etc. So Jackson's like, I'm gonna take you to the bloodletter. She's like, who's the bloodletter? He's like, she raised me and she's like the most evil vampire in the world. Great. So we go to the bloodletter, nothing happens. She teaches her how to build a wall, like look inside yourself, Simba, and like fucking whatever. Like, so she can hear Hudson, who has a British accent. Because why not? Because this is a Spike Angel Buffy love triangle. She builds the wall so Hudson can't use her, but now she can hear him, and now he starts to like manifest himself physically, and this is putting like a huge damper on her and Jackson because she can't like kiss Jackson because Hudson gets grossed out by it and it like messes with her brain, whatever. And then in the middle of all this, which is why I called it Buffy the Vampire Slayer and the Goblet of the Deathly Hallows, the only way to get Jackson out of Grace is to find these 4 magical objects, 5 if we want to remove him but make him human so that he can't use his powers to hurt people again, because remember, he committed a genocide. He killed a lot of people. That's the Deathly Hallows part, but one of the ways they're gonna get some of these things, and the thing that's going on at school, is the Ludaris Trials, which is like a game to like win a spot on the circle, but you don't really win the spot on the circle anymore because only mated pairs can be on the circle, and Jackson wants him and Grace to be on the circle later in life and like take over for his parents, and like Grace is like, thanks for fucking asking me, I don't want to do that shit. So that's a whole thing, and like, so that's the Goblet of Fire Triwizard Tournament part, and then the Deathly Hallows are the 5 things I have to find to like get him out. I'm telling you this because there's no plot to the 300 pages that I wrote, or that I read, except for that. So the highlight, the star of this show, as it usually is going to be the bad writing. The titles in Crush, are they as bad as Crave? Not so far. There is one that made me go to my windowsill and contemplate jumping. So her uncle, who runs the school, is like, hey, I know that you just got back from being a gargoyle and you don't remember the last 4.5 months, and you also may or may not have brought back this psychopathic genocidal vampire with you, but let things ride. Like, just go back to your classes, do your thing, and like, we'll just figure it out. And she's like, this is par for the course for me at this point, a psychopathic vampire on my ass, although it was Leah and now it's Hudson. I swear, if I were reading this story, I'd say the plot twists were getting ridiculous, but I'm not reading it, I'm living it, and that is so much worse. Hey, real quick, writing tip from me to you. Unless you're writing a fourth wall breaking meta, like address the reader type of story. Don't do this. Don't ever do this. This is so annoying. This is so dumb. Don't fucking do this. Don't draw attention to the fact that we're reading a book. Like, do you know how quickly I was like, I don't care now. I forgot. Yep, you're not real. So, oh well. Nah, I don't care about anything that happens to you. Is that what you want your readers to do? Tracy, hi. You do this more than once in the 50% of the book I've already read. Why? Grace would be happy if her uncle and her boyfriend start talking to her instead of about her, since I have a semi-functioning brain and, you know, agency in my own life. To their credit, they both look shamefaced at the verbal slapdown, as they should. I may not be a vampire or a warlock, but that doesn't mean I'm just going to lie down and let the menfolk make decisions about my life, especially not when both of them seem to be of the wrap Grace in cotton and protect her opinion, which also really isn't gonna fly with me. She tries so hard to be a little bad bitch and like have these little comebacks, and everyone's always like, oh, you're so spicy, oh, you're so sassy, and I'm always like, this sounds like a 12-year-old girl clapping back on the internet. Like, it's, I don't know. Oh my God. So page 40, so we're only on chapter 6. She says, we need to figure out why I'm certain I'm forgetting something very important that happened during those 4 months. And I wrote, I haven't read the ACOTAR books by Sarah J. Maas, but I think there's a love triangle between brothers in that. And this is all I'm thinking right now, is that, and I still think this, I'm only 50% of the way through, so I'm not sure yet. I'm pretty sure that the 4 months she doesn't remember, she like fell in love with Hudson. And that's why things are weird with Jackson. And like, what, like, this is classic shit, although he's in her mind and not her person. And that seems like a problem. Anyway, chapter 8 is Put a Little Love on Me. They're like making out, her and Jackson. And he says, I love you. And then she like freezes and she's like, everything is gone, and Jackson must feel it because he stops immediately, and she chalks it up to being hungry. I should probably want to lean forward so my hair brushes against Jackson's hand and he knows everything's okay, or at least lean into him for one more hug, but I don't actually want to do either of those things, so I don't. And my note here is she's either in love with Hudson or Hudson is possessing her to hurt Jackson by rejecting him. I still don't know which one is true. I still can't tell 50% of the way through the book if Hudson is actually a good guy that has a bad rap and like Grace is getting to know the real him because he's inside her, or if he is like the best manipulator on the planet and is like really like twisting her to feel for him. Still can't tell yet. So that is something that's interesting. If they weren't both so annoying, and there weren't like some of the cringiest things I've ever read in this entire book in my life, maybe I'd care. So first I'm like, all right, Hudson's possessing her, right? But then the same page, I am completely admiring the hell out of what his very nice ass does for those boring black uniform pants. And then I said, maybe not being possessed then, unless incest is part of the plot twist. We don't know at this point. Chapter 9, instead of being titled Living on a Prayer, it's Living on a Hope-Induced Hallucination. The bell at Katmere is Sympathy for the Devil by the Rolling Stones. Flint shows up. Y'all remember Flint, who turned into a dragon and tried to kill Grace in the tunnels to prevent Leah from bringing Hudson back? He tried to kill Grace? Y'all remember? Y'all remember that? I do. He doesn't. He is like, hey, new girl, what's up? Hey, girl, I missed you. And she's like, hey, what's going on? But this is the guy who tried to kill me not that long ago. Sure, he said the last 4 months to move on, but for me, it feels like everything just happened a few days ago. So why are you talking to him? This keeps happening where she's like, Flint is my friend and we are cool. Oh my God, I'm still mad at him for trying to kill me, as you should be. It's like, I can't trust you. Oh, but I am gonna go like into these dark tunnels with you. Oh, I am gonna go flying with you as a dragon. Like, oh, but I don't trust you. You tried to kill me. Grace, decide. Pick a fucking emotion. Yeah, exactly. Okay, page 51 is what I was just talking about. Page 52 in the next chapter. He says something, and then she's like, staying mad at Flint is starting to feel impossible. He looks sad, but he doesn't try to argue with me. Doesn't try to pretend I don't have the right to be wary around him. But you're not always.
What I'm saying is this book could have been 50% shorter if they just decided whether or not Grace liked Flint now.
Wow, Flint gives me a fake wide-eyed look. Turn a girl into a gargoyle, and suddenly she's all kinds of stone cold-hearted. Wow, I return his look with one of my own. Turn a boy into a dragon and suddenly he's all kinds of ridiculous. That's not my dragon, baby. That's all me. I roll my eyes but can't stop myself from grinning at his goofiness. It's really good to be able to joke with him again. I hate to break it to you, baby, but I'm pretty sure it's both of you. He tried to kill you the other day. This energy, even if it was your friend. He tried to kill you the other day. Chapter 12 is titled #Faction Fight Club. And Grace is the dumbest person ever. She's taken this class with like this 8-foot tall guy. I like him. I mean, sure, he talks really loudly, but I don't see what the big deal is. He's a giant. I know, right? My eyes widen as I picture the architecture teacher. I think he's the largest person I've ever seen. Because he's a giant, Jackson reiterates, and this time it's impossible to miss the emphasis he puts on the last word. Wait a minute. When you say giant, you don't mean big human. You mean giant. Yeah, Grace. Literally a giant. You're a gargoyle. You're dating a vampire. Your cousin's a witch. Why is the giant thing impossible to understand? Jackson finds Flint and Grace doing their project or whatever, and Flint like puts his arm around Grace, and he's like, he wasn't happy to find out you might let me take you for a ride. And Grace is like, Flint, why would you say it like that? He means dragon. I might ride his dragon. And then Flint laughs. Exactly. And then she's like, Flint, stop. Oh my God. Like totally not making this any better. And then Jackson just sucker punches Flint right in the face, which I'm like, all right. I don't know, dude. And then she gives Jackson a hug and she says he smells like oranges and fresh water. If you guys remember in Crave, he smelled like oranges and dark water. And I was trying to figure out what dark water it was, and I guess she must have gotten that feedback a lot because she changed it to fresh water, which I don't know if that means like the lake. Once again, does he smell like Florida? It's not a great thing to smell like. Or does he smell like the ocean? Or does he smell like tap water? Fresh water is not a good descriptor. It is better than dark water. Oh man. Jackson hid his heart behind a scowl and his scar behind his too long hair, and now look at him. I'm not vain enough to think I'm responsible for all of it, but I'm grateful that I got to play a part in pulling him out of the darkness and saving Jackson as much as he's saved me. I've waited an eternity for you, Grace. I can wait a little longer. So again, I'm only 50% of the way through this book, and there's two things that happen a lot. The first thing is she calls people ridiculous. You're ridiculous. Like, for everyone is ridiculous to Grace. Jackson winks at me and mouths, text me later. This happens a lot too. They mouth things at each other that there's no way in hell that you would know what they were saying. No way. Sorry. You don't know what I just said. Not even a little bit. It's very weird. It happens like 4 more times. Macy quirks one brow at me. You're gonna show up, right? You're not gonna blow me off for the resident vampire in chief. I burst out laughing all over again because of course I do. How can I not when Macy is at her ridiculous best? Chapter 15, let's all play Find the Homicidal Maniac. Crack myself up. Okay. So when I pass a group of witches who don't even bother to lower their voices as they talk about me, proof that mean girls really exist everywhere, I just smile and blow them a kiss. Mwah. If you like the way I talk, then why am I on your mind? That's all I can think. Macy tells me with a wink right before she hits play on her phone, and Harry Styles' Watermelon Sugar fills the room. Again, Harry Styles does not deserve this. Anna Todd and Tracy Wolff, I'm writing cease and desist letters on behalf of Harry Styles. Leave this man alone. No offense. Anybody, you can thirst over whoever you want. Just stop putting him in fiction. And Macy's like, I took pictures of you. Duh. You were like the coolest creature in existence. Don't you want to see? And then chapter 16 is called Nothing Wrong with Being a Little Horny. I'm gonna kill myself. This is my formal cease and desist. Oh my God. And then Grace is like, wow, I still look an awful lot like me. Same long curly hair, same pointy little chin, even the same big boobs and ridiculously short stature. Tracy Wolff, every time you say ridiculous from now on in your life, you're gonna pay me $1. No, actually, you're probably a millionaire. You're gonna pay me $5. Oh, is that because I love Jackson or because of the mating bond, which supposedly has been in place from the moment we first touched? If you guys forgot, I guess Jackson is her mate. They're like mated together. It's like imprinting. Okay, great. Which means what? The first day near the chess table when he was being so awful to me and I rested my hand against his scarred cheek, that's when we mated, before either of us had a clue about each other, before either of us even liked each other, before either of us even had a choice. And what I already can tell when we're laying this groundwork about, like, I never had a choice but to love Jackson is gonna be like, but I have the choice to love Hudson, and his darkness is more than Jackson ever could have, and I can save him, and this is my destiny, but this is my fate. And oh, it's gonna be a thing. There's a third book, by the way. I don't know if I'm gonna have the strength to read it. It's gonna depend on how this ends, honestly. I've read enough urban fantasy and YA novels to understand the mating bond is the best thing that can happen to two people.
Stop it. Get some help.
Mm-hmm. She puts on her favorite playlist called Summertime Unsadness. And I'm Born to Run fills up the silence around me. It's hard to be scared. Oh, she's in the tunnels. She's going down to the tunnels to take pictures where she was chained up by Leah and almost killed. It's hard to be scared when American authors are singing about how they want to live their life like it's never enough. Talk about an anthem tailor-made for this situation. This is the first, chapter 18 is the first time she wakes up covered in blood. She doesn't know how it happened. Found out Cole, the alpha wolf who tried to hurt her, drop that chandelier on her in Crave, is the one who is in the like infirmary. He lost a fuck ton of blood, blah, blah, blah. Macy whispers something that sounds like locks and doors. Same page. Macy murmurs something about light and life. And I wrote, just write some spells, Tracy. Stop saying that no, that was such a lazy thing. I can't deal. I'm sure she was on a hella deadline and this is a hella long book. Write a spell, takes 5 seconds. And there are stickers all through the tunnels that Macy is taking her through because they're like Macy's secret tunnels. And these stickers that she can see as they're walking are, why, yes, I can drive a stick with a picture of a witch's hat and broom. Karma's a witch with a crystal ball. And my personal favorite, 100% that witch, surrounded by a bed of flowers and sage. Oh, I'm sorry, I was disassociating out of secondhand embarrassment. Macy says, suck it up, Buttercup. It's time to figure out what the actual hell is going on. If you talk like this, if you are a teenager and you speak like this, I want you to call me. I want you to call me and tell me I'm wrong, because I do not believe for a second anyone talks like this. Not a person, not a soul. And I said, Tracy Wolff wants Grace to be Buffy Summers so bad. It ain't happening. It's not working. Grace asks her uncle if he's gonna call the police on her. The police? You're not gonna call the police on you. I didn't mean to hurt him. No one's calling the police, Grace, Jackson tells me firmly. First of all, the police? For a werewolf, are you dumb, stupid, or dumb? And also, Jackson, shut up. No one was talking to you. He's like, no one's gonna call the police. She's not asking you. You don't run the school. Shut up. Oh my God, the police. Everyone's like, well, Cole's not gonna say anything about it because if he admits he got the shit kicked out of him by a girl, his alpha status will be in danger. So like, it's fine. Blah, blah, blah. When is this new life of mine going to feel like normal? When is it going to feel less like the Hunger Games and more like high school? Chapter 22, family is my favorite F word. And Grace is like, what punishment am I going to get? Like, what's going to happen to me for doing this to Cole? Nothing, Jackson grinds out. Nothing is going to happen to you. This isn't your fault. Sir, you are not the principal. You go here. Why do you think you have this authority? I am confusion. And the uncle's like, I'm not in the habit of kicking students out who are struggling with their powers or who make bad choices with their power for the right reasons. That's why Flint and Jackson are still here. It's also why Katmere has the best healers so that when mistakes happen, we can fix them. No. If a homeboy tried to drop a chandelier on me, I want him expelled. If a bitch drained me of most of my blood, I want her expelled. Uncle Finn needs to be fired immediately. That's fine. It's fine. This is where she says that when she came to Katmere 4.5 months ago. So let's do the math. According to the beginning of this book, she was a gargoyle for 4 months. So she says she came to Katmere 4.5 months ago. Half of a month is 2 weeks. By that logic, the entirety of Crave took place in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. A fortnight, if you will. A fortnight. When I look up at him, I realize that the small smile he's got on his face is an extremely goofy tint to it. Because of me. I'm the girl who turns badass vampire prince Jackson Vega goofy. She's laughing because she started the bad jokes thing with him in Crave. She says, I've created a monster, I tease, shaking my head in mock horror. But Jackson's eyes are shadowed now. The laughter slipping away as easily as it came. No. Jackson... I can do this. No. Jackson watches me with an intensity that shakes me to my very bones. I've always been a monster, Grace. You're the one who's made me human. They start talking about this thing called Ludaris or Ludaris, I don't know, ludicrous.
Originally, it was designed to try to compete for spots in the circle, discovering valuable supernaturals, but since no one has died on it, no one in the circle has died in 1,000 years, there aren't any openings to compete for, which means for now it's just a sporting event.
Chapter 24 is titled Go Smudge Yourself. She wakes up in the casting tower in like the middle of a circle and she's like, oh my god, last time I was on a circle, Leah was trying to fucking kill me, I'm freaking out. And when she wakes up, she's like, I'm pretty positive this isn't even a bedroom, unless the person furnishing it is a huge fan of Scary Dungeons R Us. Ma'am, Toys R Us has been closed for a good year now. You gotta update your references. I've never been in a room with a candle collection that rivals Bath & Body Works. If Bath & Body Works was into carved up ritual candles and enough incense to cover Alaska twice over. They take her back to the library because something has happened. They need to show her. They won't just fucking tell her what's going on. They have to show her. Jackson shows up and she's like, what's going on? He's like, you would think, but I don't know. Like I said, she called your uncle and Macy, talking about the librarian, not me. There's something in his voice that I can't identify, but he doesn't sound impressed. Apparently, Jackson feels like he deserves to be notified about things related to me, which is annoying because he doesn't actually own me. And yet, I think I would want to know, I think about how I feel if something happened to him. Yeah, pretty sure I would want to be notified too. These little things, these little do-do-dos, they are not going to be together by the end of this book. Fucking hand to God, promise. I've not read past like 330, page 330. The Athame of Morrigan had been stolen. This is a double-sided ceremonial blade that's been in the family for centuries. Okay, so right away, this is the first time we're ever hearing of the Athame of Morrigan. If it's such an important part of the story and it's one of the Deathly Hallows of this book, I would have liked when she walked into the library. This is another mini writing lesson. I would have liked when she walked into the library, or maybe previously in Crave, for her to have noticed this sword. It's on display in a case. It's a very important ceremonial sword that's been in her cousin's side of the family for generations, for centuries. So now we're just now hearing about it. Sounds cool. I wish she would have noticed it and been like, what is that? And I'll have been like, oh, that's the Athame of Morrigan. And she's like, oh, cool. And then she blacks out and Hudson's like, oh, I heard about the Athame of Morrigan. Beep, beep, beep. And they give it to, plant the seeds, drop the crumbs. I know, come on. I know she was on a deadline because this shit is not, it's messy. The reason we haven't been able to figure out where you left him is because he's been here all along. The reason we haven't been able to figure out where at Catmere Academy Hudson is hiding is because all along he's been hiding inside you. Hi, this is chapter 26. I called that, chapter 10. Get with the program, Grace. Again, it took you 64 chapters of a 90 chapter book. Am I wrong? My math will go up here. To figure out that there were paranormals at your school. You're just not smart. And it's okay to not be smart. It's fine. But stop acting, Tracy, Wolff, like Grace is the smartest person in the fucking place, because she's not. She's not. She's doo-doo. Doesn't think about anything. He might as well have pulled out a full-on South Park impression and said, move along, people, nothing to see here. Nobody watches South Park anymore. How did my life get to this? 5 months ago, I was in San Diego. My biggest decision was where I was going to go to college. Now I still have to decide that, or at least I think I do. Parentheses, do gargoyles even go to college? Plus deal with the evil alpha werewolves trying to take me down and psychopathic vampires living in my head. If it wasn't for Jackson, I'd be pretty positive that I traded way, way down. I go along with Macy, glancing back only to give Jackson a wave into mouth 30 minutes at him. You would not know. You don't know what I said. And then we learn chapter 29, I'm too sexy for my coat, and so is everyone else. I don't know what that means. We learn about fading for the first time, and fading is apparating. Vampires, it's apparating for vampires. And Jackson tells Grace, like, over and over and over, he's like, the bloodletter is really powerful. Like, do not talk to her unless she talks to you. Answer her, like, don't answer her questions, like, or answer her questions. I don't know. He's just like, don't fucking talk to her unless she talks to you. She is evil. And Grace is like, oh, this is awkward. Like, oh my God, it's gonna be a fight between the two of them. So, deciding to take it out of both their hands, I step forward and smile at her. I'm Grace, I say, and though convention suggests that I offer my hand, Jackson's earlier warning still rings in my ears. It's really nice to meet you. He told you not to say a word. So clearly, the warning does not ring in your ears. Because he said don't fucking talk to her. And yet, Grace can do whatever she wants. Grace is the Mary Sue. The moment I do, she lets go. Bloodletter's like, let go, like, let your guard down, whatever. The moment I do, the illusion of this world fades into something even more right, something that feels like coming home. Suddenly there's another voice in my head, and it's not the one I'm used to. This one is low and sardonic. It's also familiar, really familiar. Well, it's about time. Oh shit, my stomach bottoms out. Did you hear him? Tell me you heard him. And this is when Hudson comes out to play. Chapter 33, it's hard to pick my battles when my battles keep picking me. I don't remember blah, 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 right up until I heard someone in my head with a British accent. You've got quite the mean streak in you, Grace. Does it make me a masochist if I admit that I like it? Ugh, seriously, I can stand the voice in my head. I can maybe even put up with the fact that that voice belongs to Hudson. But the sexual innuendo is gonna make me vomit. Then she, like, manifests him and, like, can see him. He's super hot. I wouldn't be surprised if he turned around and there was a sign plastered across the back of his silver gray dress shirt spelling out villain in huge black letters. That's how perfect he is at looking bad. Because of course it is. Looks like the devil really does wear Gucci. These are Versace, he answers. Yeah, basically, they kind of figure out that, like, when he went to kill his brother, she grabbed him and he was fading to get away, and, like, he was, like, in the middle of fading when she turned to stone, and they just, like, got pulled in together, basically. No one in your world is more dangerous than Hudson. Here's the thing. Girls I went to high school with have toddlers named Hudson. So, like, it doesn't express the level of evil that Tracy Wolff wants it to. The bloodletter's like, Hudson might decide he doesn't want to leave, and he's like, I wouldn't do that. I mean, seriously, who would actually choose to spend their life as a Jackson Vega fangirl? Oh my God. The bloodletter's like, all magic has a price, and it includes certain accoutrement that you don't have yet. I'm picturing Eye of Newt and Wing of Bat and God only knows what else. But then again, before Catmere, most of my knowledge about witches came from Hocus Pocus and Charmed. Bitch, me too. I don't go write books about it. Like, you need 4 Deadly Hallows to bring him back as a vampire, 5 if you want to bring him back as human, blah, blah, blah. And Hudson's like, you don't need 5, you don't need 5, you don't need 5. She's like, shut up, yes I do. It's an eye tooth of an alpha werewolf, which is why he attacked Cole. The moonstone from a powerful warlock, which was in the blade. The bloodstone from a born vampire, and the full bone of a dragon. But you need the heartstone of a mythic, unkillable beast to completely strip Hudson of his powers. So 4 of them, relatively easy to get. The 5th one is the big one, because they don't want to bring Hudson back to be the genocidal maniac that we all know and love. I have to take a break because I read my own notes and I cracked myself up. Oh, Hudson's like, I want to get out because it's annoying to be in your head, especially the hours you spend thinking about my dreamy baby brother. Not fun at all. Then do us both a favor and get out, I yell at him. I'm more than a little embarrassed at the idea of Hudson being privy to all my thoughts. What the everlasting bloody hell do you think I've been trying to do? And I wrote, pack it up, Buffy, because for real, nothing gets by you. Hudson gives me a fake wide-eyed look and then growls, no shit, Sherlock. You know, you really don't have to be so intolerable all the time, I admonish. And here I thought you liked intolerable guys. You are dating Jaxie Waxy after all. Your brother's not intolerable, I tell him, a little offended on Jackson's behalf, says the girl who's known him less than 2 weeks. What in the bad fanfiction is happening right now? I have suffered enough. I have suffered enough. Oh my God. And they're like, gotta go to the North Pole. North Pole, what's there? I mean, besides Santa's workshop. Jackson and the bloodletter both kind of raise eyebrows at that, so I give them a smile. Not the right time for levity, huh? I thought it was funny, Hudson says. Besides, I bet you'd look cute in one of those tiny little elf costumes with the bells on the toes. Chapter 37, sweet dreams are made of anything but this. Oh, you got that right. So, turns out building a mental wall isn't as hard as I thought it would be, just placing individual bricks around a part of my mind. So glad we spent so much time trying to figure out something so easy. Fantastic. Happens again. No offense to the bloodletter in her ice cave, but I can't get back to school soon enough. Something about being trapped in a frozen cage and having no control over my life or my fate just does that to me. Shocking, I know. You're not sassy. I'm just annoyed. Well, I'm not ready to even think about any of that yet. So instead, I'm going to do my best Dory impression and just keep swimming, just keep swimming. Oh, how could you possibly be fine with that in your head? Flint asks. Wow, Montgomery, don't hold back, Hudson draws. Tell me how you really feel. Will you please shut up? I snarl at Hudson, but keep my gaze trained on Flint. Trust me, he's been neutered. Nothing more than a chihuahua in my head. All bark, no bite. Wow, thanks. I am not a neutered pet. Keep it up, and I'll figure out how to actually neuter you. There are the claws I'm so fond of, he says, grinning at me. You really do have a bit of the badass in you, Grace, even if you don't believe it. This Draco Malfoy Spike from Buffy hybrid is on my last nerve. There is nothing to him but those two characters. She says, you're just jealous because you don't have any brawn at the moment. Yeah, that's what I'm jealous of. There's something fleeting in Hudson's tone that gives me pause, but it's gone so fast that I don't have the chance to figure out what it is. I figured it out. He's in love with Grace. Great. Aw, how cute. Little Jaxie Waxie wants a study date. I hate... Jaxie Waxie's gotta go. A random thought occurs to me. Hey, I've been meaning to ask you, why does Hudson have a British accent but you don't? Because then this wouldn't be a Spike Angel Buffy love triangle, Grace. Get with the program. That's what we're in right now. One of them's gotta be British. When I sneak a quick peek at Hudson's face, I realize he's working almost as hard as I am not to grin, which is absurd, I know. I want him out of my head more than anything. But I have to admit that now that he can't take control of my body anymore, arguing with him is a ridiculous amount of fun. Talking about how vampires age differently than humans, I sincerely hope I'm not dating someone who was in diapers and sucked his thumb for 100 years. Hudson snort laughs, so I know you heard that last thought, but he doesn't turn around. I can't help a smile spreading across my face at the image of a 20-year-old Hudson in said diapers. This finally gets his attention, and he shoots me a raised eyebrow over one shoulder. Very kinky, Miss Foster.
That's nasty. I'm gonna go throw up.
Chapter 42, Ben and Jerry are the only two guys I want to fight over. Jackson sets up a date in the library and he turns on Savage Gardens. I knew I loved you. And my heart stutters in my chest. And she says she's painting like her life depends on it, but she doesn't know what she's painting. I guarantee you she is painting something that happened that she can't remember about her and Hudson. It's going to be like a sexy scene or their special place. And that's why Hudson knows the color. I don't know why he won't just tell her. Chapter 43, even homicidal maniacs have their limits. This is your warning for awful Britishisms. I'm going to attempt to do this straight-faced, maybe in the accent if I can manage it. This is what I was talking about earlier. They're talking about the genocide that Hudson started. I can't imagine anything worse for Hudson to have done. Can't imagine how depraved. Oh, you can bugger right off with that, Hudson suddenly shouts, coming back into the main area from the shadowy aisle. The sudden, towering rage in Hudson's voice has my eyes going wide and my heart pumping way too fast. It's so huge, so overwhelming that I can feel it threatening the barricade I put up in my head. But he's not done yet. His voice and his insults getting more British by the second. Don't you fucking come at me with that bullshit, you fucking wanker. You're a daft bastard and I'm fucking sick of you swanning around like the bloody little fucking bastard that you are. Jackson leans against the doorframe then, a shit-eating grin on his face and a huge vase of flowers in his arms, and somehow still manages to look sexy as fuck. I'm what? He asks, making a ridiculous face. A total dork, I answer after I burst out laughing. He laughs too. Not quite what I was going for, but I'll take it. He hands me my flowers and kisses my cheek, because I'll take you. My heart turns into an actual puddle. There's no other word for it. Good, because I'll take you too. Am I supposed to like Grace and Jackson? Am I supposed to not ship Grace and Hudson? Not doing a good job! Not doing a good job. Hudson's like, I'm not gonna watch you take a shower, get undressed, you don't have to worry about that. I can close my eyes and go deep inside my own mind. Take your shower, you don't have anything gross to fear from me. He's a genocidal maniac, but yeah, trust him. It's fine. He breaks off, fist clenched and jaw working as he stares me down. With a roar, he whirls around and punches a fist straight through the nearest wall. He does not have a body. But he manifested enough rage to punch a hole in the wall. First of all, we all know if he's punching holes in the wall, that's a white boy red flag. You need to run real fast, far away. Second of all, he's clearly in love with Grace, and he like doesn't know, for whatever reason, can't tell her, or doesn't know how to tell her, or like doesn't know how to make her remember that she loves him, and it's just like getting very jealous about Jackson, and that's why he's mad, obviously. Hudson says, don't you think things would look a lot different if I was actually using my gift of persuasion on you? You'd be doing whatever I tell you to instead of arguing with me until I want to pull my bleeding hair out. Well, excuse me for remaining a sentient being with thoughts and ideas of my own, so sorry to inconvenience you. Is it a bitchy response? Yeah. Do I care? No. Not even a little bit. He deserves it with his silent treatment one second and his lord of the manor attitude the next. Shut up. You've been inconveniencing me since the day I laid eyes on you, he growls. Why should today be any different? You know what? Why don't you bite me? Oh wait, I forgot. You can't. Hudson rubs his eyes. You scare me sometimes, you know that? You really do. I laugh, then throw him a colloquial phrase right back. Baby, you haven't seen anything yet. He sighs. Don't I know it? What the fuck is going on in here on this day? What is happening on this day? Who lets this woman write dialogue? Sometimes it's fine. Sometimes it's perfectly good and fine. And then she does this. This sounds like first draft fan fiction. Like, what is happening? Chapter 47, Are You Bloodstoned? She mouths... They're talking about Ludaris and jumping off the castle, and she mouths jumping off the castle to Jackson. Third time you've mouthed something that there's no way anyone would know what you were fucking saying. So only mated pairs can sit on the circle then? I didn't expect that, but I probably should have. Jackson nods. Pretty much. It takes at least 2 people to survive the trial. He squeezes my hand. I keep thinking we should do it one day. The circle needs someone to lead it who won't let that happen. I mean, if Hudson thinks I'm kick-ass, that's gotta count for something, right? Damn straight it does. Hudson grins at me. And I realize I've missed it in the time he's been so quiet. Chapter 48, Win, Lose, or Die. And everybody's real excited for Ludaris because the prize is the Bloodstone from the Queen, from Jackson and Hudson's mom. The Bloodstone that they need to get Hudson out of Grace. So yay, everybody's like, woo-hoo-hoo, we're gonna win, yay, we're gonna win. The only way to get the Bloodstone is to win the tournament. And I hate tournaments and games. I hated the Summit, whatever the fuck thing, and the Cruel Prince. I hate the Triwizard Tournament, even though it's my job, and I love my job. I hate the Goblet of Fire, hate that book. Stupid. And that's when I wrote, this book is really Buffy the Vampire Slayer and the Goblet of the Deathly Hallows. 1000%. 49, teamwork makes the dream work, or it gives you nightmares. Like, Hudson's like, you're making my stomach turn. She's like, you don't even have a stomach. He says, sure I do. He responds, and to prove it, he lifts up his t-shirt, revealing, not going to lie, one of the best sets of abs I've ever seen. Seriously. Which, I'm not quite sure how I feel about that. I mean, it shouldn't matter, and it doesn't, but wow. Just wow. I'd have to be blind not to notice. Chapter 51, Get Your Magic On. Okay, cool, Macy says, I'm gonna send you some fire energy, see if you can light one of the candles on the bookshelf. She's like, just breathe and reach out for me, Grace. Lower your guards and reach. We're not in the business of lowering our guards when there is a murderous vampire living inside us. We keep our guards up. Our walls, we keep them up. We don't need to be lowering guards right now. Thank you, Macy. This whole thing is whoo! Him like taking control of Grace to like help her do the fire, and then all shoots out and it's like amazing and magical. First of all, though, Grace, why trust him with fire magic? He's a murderous vampire, but also like it was pretty hot. Woo! Chapter 53, Everybody Wants to Rule the World. I get that you want answers, guys. I want answers too, but there are times when something upsets me and I want to be alone. I owe Hudson that same courtesy. She says to the guy whose brother Hudson killed, I owe Hudson the courtesy of leaving him alone in my brain when he wants to be alone. Flint. Okay, so I know that you want to like know when I'm gonna get this fucking murderer out of my head who killed your brother and like ruined everybody's life, but like he wants to be alone right now and you need to respect his boundaries. She doesn't tell anyone that Hudson gained enough strength and energy to punch a hole in the wall as an apparition. So that's great. That's not something anyone needs to know, that he can physically manipulate the world despite not having a physical body. It's not important. So they're gonna do Ludaris Wednesday, the tournament, the Boneyard on Thursday to get a dragon bone, and then kill the unkillable beast on Saturday. Action-packed weekend. Let's do it. We're not gonna need any days to recover at all. It's totally fine. Who needs a magic carpet when your bestie's a dragon? Bestie. And then he turns into a really, really cool looking dragon, and I'm like, hey babe, do you remember the last time he turned into a dragon? It was to try to kill you. If it was me, I would probably have PTSD about that. I probably wouldn't want to be that close to him, and I definitely wouldn't want to get on his back, but like, do you? It's fine. Hudson gives a shot from behind me, his arms reaching around my waist and tugging me against his chest as though to protect me, and just like that, the wild thing deep inside me is set free again, and I'm laughing so hard I can barely catch my breath. 56, just shut up and dance. I just remembered why this is called that. Okay. Doesn't want Hudson to be happy, not when the last time he was happy, he was plotting a hostile takeover of half the paranormal world. You wound me. It was at least 3/4. Remind me, how'd that work out for you again? I ask as I empty out the lint trap and hit the start button. They're in the laundry room. Pretty well, considering I'm sitting here tonight with a super hot gargoyle's panties on my shoe. Who's this written for? Guys? Hudson is, I don't know, like trying to bring some levity to the situation. I don't know what's happening. He starts to play a song, and the song is Good Feeling by Flo Rida. Flo Rida? Flo Rida. Am I supposed to think it's cute that they're dancing in the laundry room to Flo Rida's Good Feeling? Is this woman on crack? Blah, blah, blah. What is going on? And then he's like, Grace. And like, stop for a second. And then he changes the song to Shut Up and Dance by Walk the Moon. And it's so clever, so ridiculous, so Hudson, that I can't help bursting into laughter right before I decide, screw it, and let him dance me from one end of the laundry room to the other.
Even a 13-year-old knows that that shit is dumb as hell. And you know how I know that? When I was 13 writing my very first story, I had my characters kiss for the first time because they heard the song Kiss Me by Sixpence None the Richer. And I thought it was very clever and cute to have them kiss to the song Kiss Me. And then I took it out because I realized it was corny as hell. And yet I still have a grown millionaire making me read this with my own face.
She says, how did you know I love that song? And just as easily, his smile fades away. Even before he answers, so you really remember nothing of the time we spent together. They were together. I'm telling you. The only reason that I can continue on with this messy, cringy ass story is because I want to know. Oh, I want to know what they did in those 4 months. I want to know what she did to Jackson. I want him to get very mad. I want him to show his ass. We weren't just frozen in time while you were gone, Grace. You were a gargoyle. And one of the things you spit... I'm sorry. Gargoyle is the stupidest... it's unique. I'll give her that. Good God. One of the things... she figures out how to reach inside herself and like find all her strings. And she's like, I see this string for my mom, this string for my dad, this string for this string for Macy, this string for me and Hudson, or me and Jackson. It's the mating string. And then there's a brilliant emerald green string, almost shimmering. It's so iridescent. I start to reach for that one, but a voice warns me to stay away from that string. That is a Hudson string, baby. She reaches inside, plucks the gargoyle string. She turns into a gargoyle, but one that can still walk around and move. It's like not the full phase. I don't know. Jackson nuzzles the collar of her shirt down so he can kiss her neck. Good, because I plan on doing it for a long time to come, mate. Jesus, corny much, Hudson Butson? And I agree, Hudson. This is some classic Angel Buffy Spike shit of Angel being like super corny and Buffy like 17-year-old, 18-year-old Buffy being into it, and then Spike comes along for like grown-up Buffy and she's like, oh yeah, Angel was a corny. She tells Hudson to bite her and he says, I love to. He fires back, his midnight blue eyes burning hotly into mine as he leans in close and shows a fang. Any particular place you have in mind? Out of the blue, a not altogether bad shiver makes its way down my spine. Then she lets it slip that like she kind of figured out how to phase, that Hudson kind of talked to her about it, and he's like, what? And then she's like, yeah, Hudson was talking to me and it's like he helped me, and he was like, he gets fucking pissed. He's like, it's humiliating to admit that to me, but not to Hudson. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, he's super mad about it. And then chapter 60, paranormal novellas are a lifestyle choice. Is this actually happening right now? Jackson's voice slides through the air between us. I'm talking to you and you're talking to him. I don't have a choice. I start to say, don't, he says, gaze like black ice. Don't lie to me and say you aren't doing it willingly. You turned to face him. I'm sorry, he's so much more interesting than I am. He's not, Jackson. Of course he's not. Yes. He phases, turns to the gargoyle, and he says something about the horns, and she touches her horn. She's like, oh my God, it's bigger. How can it be bigger? Hudson says, now there's a question I'm sure Jackson's never heard.
Maybe I'm a giant prude, but this is a young adult novel, not one of the direct-to-Kindle erotica books that you wrote in the beginning of your career. So, like, stop talking about dicks.
Jackson's like, does he really know what underwear you're wearing? And Hudson answers, black with white polka dots. You should wear the red ones with the white flowers tomorrow, though. They're my favorite. And I just wonder, like, I get it. Why are we talking about this 17-year-old girl's underwear so much in this book? It makes me uncomfy. Yeah. God damn it! I forgot about. I can't help but notice that Jackson is showing a lot more fang than he usually does. Then again, so is Hudson. Forget YA novel. I'm living in the middle of a paranormal telenovela, and what happens next is anyone's guess. Fuck my life. Fuck my life, Tracy Wolff, for making me read that with my eyes. So I started talking about Ludaris, and I truly do not care, and I skipped it, and then I saw that Flint said true dat. D-A-T, and I was mad about it, so I thought I'd tell you. After 63, she finally, there aren't enough happy thoughts in the world. She finally starts to fly, and she's like, I'm flying, and she's like, Jackson, I'm flying, look, Flint, I'm flying, and then she whispers, Hudson, I did it, I'm flying. Yeah, you are. Suddenly he's floating on his back next to me. You want to race to the end of the field, only if you don't let me win. He lifts a brow. Do you know me at all? Good point. I flap my wings extra hard just to see what will happen, then squeak with delight as I move ahead. Hudson laughs, then pulls back even with me a few seconds later. Ready, he asks. On your mark, get set, go. We shoot through the sky, and though a part of me knows he's not actually flying next to me, for these few seconds, it feels like he is. And it's amazing, exhilarating, intoxicating. We race through the air, going faster and faster until we hit the finish line together. And then she lands and is talking to Jackson, and she's like, did you help me? I thought you helped me. And he was like, no, the whole time it was all you. That was my last idea, to let you go and see what happened if I wasn't holding you back. Holy loaded sentence. We find out here that the way Hudson is staying alive is by like siphoning energy off of Grace, but he's also using the mating bond to take from Jackson as well, so that he's not like killing Grace basically. And Grace is like, oh my god, I can't believe you would do that to Jackson. And he's like, Jackson's way more powerful than you. You want me to fucking just kill you so I can stay alive? Like, no. It's like a whole thing where Jackson's like going to kiss Grace, and Hudson's watching and he gets really mad, and so he like takes a huge like suck of energy off of Jackson. He like stumbles on his feet. And I just really hope this is Hudson being an expert manipulator, and that we're not actually sincerely getting a Buffy Angel Spike love triangle. Like, I just really, this is what I really hope happens. We're gonna visit this next week and see if I'm right. I hope that Grace fucks everything up with Jackson because she's like falling in love with Hudson. Hudson tells her or like manipulates her into remembering that they were in love during like the gargoyle time, and she's like, okay, like I'm gonna let you out and I want you to be a vampire because blah 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 blah. He's like, fuck you, Grace, actually I'm still a bad bitch, haha, sorry. And like, but then maybe Grace like likes it and they like become bad together. I don't know. But like, if this is really a love triangle and like this is really all we're getting, and this guy was never bad, and like this is all just a misunderstanding, and like there was no actual threat, I'm just gonna be so angry. Like Caraval, where there was no actual threat to anyone ever, really just, it ruined my trust forever. Like I just cannot trust a book ever again that there's actually a threat. And then the last thing, we have chapter 66, Frenemies Are Forever. Macy's like, what'd you think of that werewolf guy? I was like, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, oh, the one that was like stripping down trying to like impress you or whatever. And she's like, oh, you noticed? And she says, oh my god, yes. At one point, Hudson and I were both convinced he was going to strip down and start flexing his abs right in front of you. His abs and everything else, Hudson adds. Really? You think so? I know so. He was totally showing off for you, and I told you I wasn't the only one who noticed. Hudson asked several times if we were sure he was a wolf and not a peacock. My cousin laughs delightedly, then says, you mean Jackson? No, I tell her, even more confused by the question. It was definitely Hudson, not Jackson, who was paying attention to what was happening between you two. Who made all the comments? Oh, she gives me a weird look. I didn't realize you and Hudson... What? I ask when she trails off looking awkward. She clears her throat the way she always does when she's nervous. Then says, I guess I just didn't realize you and Hudson had gotten so... ... close. Look, if you guys watched my unpopular opinions video a couple weeks ago, you know that I preach not writing love triangles, that I don't write love triangles, that I tell you love triangles are stupid. But my guilty pleasure is love triangles. And so the writing is bad. It's very messy. She released the first one in April and this one came out in September, so I have to imagine she had to like bust ass to get this book out. Or she had like a draft and they were like, we gotta jump on the sequel potential right now, like get the draft out, like it's a draft, you know what I mean? Like it's a second, third draft, because the writing is very messy. However, I am enjoying like rehashing this Spike Buffy Angel thing. It's kind of fun. It's kind of fun. It's a little bit fun because there is a chapter at the end of this from Hudson's point of view called Amazing Grace. So unfortunately, I have reason to believe this ends as cheesily as I expect. The other thing that could happen that could lead to trilogy potential is like Hudson sacrifices himself to save Grace and Jackson, and like the power of brotherly love and whatever I don't know, something great. Hudson redeems himself in some way, even though he committed a genocide. And then Grace is like, oh my God, because he did this for me, I cannot love Jackson as fully as I used to. Half of my heart went with Hudson Vega when he sacrificed himself for me. And it's like, actually, I'm not really dead. Come back to Gargoyle World. And she's gonna have to choose between like Gargoyle, wherever she was, and human life here where she is. And she's gonna have to make a very, very hard decision. Yeah, so next week is going to be the second part of this. I'm going to read the rest of it this week. I'm going to give you my thoughts. We're going to see if my predictions are correct. Yeah. In the meantime, make me videos every single Tuesday. I'm back for the rest of the year. There will be a video every single Tuesday. I pinky swear. And I'll see you then.